What happens when a wealthy nation allows tens of thousands to be forgotten, left to fight for survival on the streets? In Los Angeles, Skid Row has become a haunting symbol of this crisis, where homelessness isn't just widespread, it's escalating.
Well, Skid Row is it's a trap. Even though they have resources to help you, but it's a trap because it's a lot of the world going on out here, as in drugs and prostitution and partying. And if you get caught up in that stuff, it can ruin your life. You know, and I came down here and unfortunately I got involved in it. And it took me to destruction.
Once a thriving community, it's now a place where people who once had homes are forced to live in tents, shacks, and on sidewalks. Why has a place once full of promise turned into a symbol of despair? What will it take to turn the tide and restore hope to this forgotten corner of the city? Stay with us as we uncover the deep causes of this crisis and explore the urgent actions needed to bring change. Skid Row, located in downtown Los Angeles, has become a symbol of the growing homelessness crisis in the United States.
A place you would never want to experience if you're a homeless person. Los Angeles is the #1 city for homeless. They call it Skid Row. And it's not a nice place to be.
According to the latest 2024 Los Angeles homeless count, approximately 3,791 individuals are experiencing homelessness in Skid Row, with about 2,112 of them living unsheltered, sleeping in tents, makeshift shelters, or simply on the sidewalks. This area has long been known as the epicenter of homelessness in Los Angeles, where the concentration of unhoused individuals far exceeds that of other neighborhoods in the city. But how did we let this happen? How did a prosperous city like Los Angeles, with so many resources, allow a population of this size to fall through the cracks? The reality of homelessness in Skid Row goes beyond just a lack of housing. For many, it's a constant battle with poverty, mental illness, substance abuse, and physical health issues.
I didn't know how to find them. I've been on Skid Row for 8 years, and I've been out here looking for them since then. I was trying to get in drug programs and straighten my life out and get things right. But I couldn't, I failed. And so they took them away from me.
The homeless population is diverse, with individuals from all walks of life, but the elderly are especially vulnerable. Many older adults find themselves on the streets due to escalating rent prices, overwhelming medical bills, or personal crises. Once they lose their homes, escaping the streets becomes nearly impossible. With limited access to health care, mental health support, and permanent housing, these individuals face an uphill struggle for survival. One local initiative aims to bring attention to these harsh realities, offering an in-depth look at the challenges faced by the homeless population in Skid Row. It uncovers the struggles of people who have lived for years without stable housing, providing a voice to those who are often overlooked. Through such initiatives, the scale of the crisis becomes undeniable. The situation is urgent, and the need for long-term solutions that address both immediate and systemic causes is more pressing than ever. This ongoing crisis is not just a Skid Row issue. It reflects a larger pattern of homelessness that stretches across the nation. With millions of Americans living without stable housing, Skid Row's struggles serve as a painful reminder of the broader issue of homelessness in America. Addiction remains one of the key drivers of homelessness in Skid Row, with drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine deepening the despair for countless individuals. These substances amplify the vulnerability of those living on the streets, creating an almost insurmountable barrier to escape their harsh reality. Fentanyl, a potent opioid, has emerged as one of the most destructive forces in Skid Row. For individuals already struggling with mental illness, trauma, or financial instability, fentanyl offers a brief escape, numbing their pain temporarily. However, this fleeting relief comes at a significant cost. The drug's extreme addictiveness quickly ensnares its users, trapping them in a vicious cycle of dependency that only deepens their homelessness. As they lean more on fentanyl, they become less likely to seek the help they need, often losing all sense of stability as their lives revolve around the desperate need for the next dose. Similarly, methamphetamine plays a pivotal role in the addiction crisis in Skid Row. Like fentanyl, meth provides a short-lived sense of relief, giving users a burst of energy and a temporary escape from the grim reality of living on the streets. But once the effects wear off, they are left even more desperate and isolated. Meth users in Skid Row often become detached from the world around them, further hindering their ability to engage with services or support systems that could help them recover. The combination of fentanyl and meth has exacerbated the homelessness crisis in Skid Row. These drugs not only fuel addiction, but also isolate individuals from their communities, making recovery all the more difficult. With each passing day, the reliance on these substances grows stronger, locking them deeper in the cycle of homelessness. This tragic spiral, where addiction feeds homelessness, and homelessness in turn deepens addiction, requires urgent attention. The crisis in Skid Row underscores the need for comprehensive solutions that tackle both addiction and homelessness simultaneously. Without addressing the root causes of addiction, efforts to end homelessness will remain insufficient. This documentary unveils the root causes of Skid Row's homelessness crisis, a tragedy driven by systemic failures far beyond addiction alone. These causes are deeply rooted in the social, economic, and political structures shaping Los Angeles and America. First, the affordable housing crisis is a primary culprit. Since the 1,982nd, Los Angeles real estate market has exploded, with luxury apartments sprouting rapidly. Yet, only 5% of new housing projects from 2015 to 2024 were designated for low-income residents, leaving affordable options scarce. Rent prices have soared, with the median rent in LA rising 30% from 2010 to 2024, crushing the elderly on fixed incomes and low-wage workers. For many, a single financial hit, like a $5,000 medical bill, can lead to eviction and a one-way ticket to Skid Row's sidewalks. Second, escalating living costs exacerbate the problem. Groceries, healthcare, and transportation in LA have become unaffordable for many. For older residents, often surviving on meager pensions or low-paying jobs, one unexpected expense, like a car repair or hospital stay, can spiral into homelessness. In 2023, 40% of Skid Row's homeless reported losing housing due to such financial shocks, underscoring the fragility of economic stability. Third, mental illness, compounded by a broken support system, traps many in Skid Row. Over 30% of the area's homeless struggle with severe mental health issues, yet LA's underfunded mental health services, cut by 25% since 2008, offer little help. Without treatment, these individuals cannot secure jobs or housing, perpetuating their plight. Finally, the erosion of America's social safety net has left millions vulnerable. Since the Reagan era, federal funding for public housing plummeted by 70%, and local programs like rental assistance have dwindled. Systemic inequities also play a role. Black Americans, who make up 40% of LA's population, account for 60% of Skid Row's homeless, reflecting disparities in housing and employment access. This documentary exposes how policy failures and profit-driven development have turned Skid Row into a last resort for those abandoned by society's systems. These intertwined causes reveal the depth of the crisis in Skid Row, showing that it is not just about the individuals who call it home, but about the societal structures that have failed them. The homelessness crisis in Skid Row sends shockwaves beyond its borders, placing immense pressure on Los Angeles healthcare, public safety, and economy. The escalating issue tests the city's ability to support all its residents and demands a deeper reflection on its wider consequences. The healthcare system is overwhelmed. Many homeless individuals grappling with chronic illnesses, mental health struggles, or addiction flood emergency rooms, intensifying the strain. In 2023, Louisiana's C+ USC Medical Center reported that 35% of emergency room visits were from homeless patients, with wait times often surpassing 12 hours. Fentanyl overdoses alone accounted for 20% of these cases, exacerbating congestion and delaying care for all Angelenos. The overworked medical staff are stretched thin, reducing the quality of care across the city. Public safety faces increasing challenges. While most homeless individuals are nonviolent, the massive encampments in Skid Row contribute to heightened anxiety among nearby residents and businesses. Police data shows a 15% increase in petty theft and public disturbances in surrounding neighborhoods between 2020 and 2024, often driven by untreated mental health issues or desperation. With law enforcement spread thin, officers are caught between providing compassion and enforcing the law, diverting resources from other areas of the city. Economically, the crisis takes a significant toll. A family-owned deli on 6th Street reported a 25% drop in customers since 2020, as tourists avoid the tent-filled streets of Skid Row. In 2024, the city allocated $1.3 billion from its budget to shelters, cleanups, and services, redirecting resources away from education and infrastructure. The stark contrast between tattered tents and downtown's polished skyscrapers highlights the deep inequality within Los Angeles. Globally, Los Angeles' image as a glamorous destination is tarnished. Visitors to nearby cultural hotspots, like the Arts District, are confronted with Skid Row's grim reality, discouraging repeat visits. A 2023 study revealed a 10% decrease in downtown commercial investment, driven by perceptions of instability. How can a city that once embodied dreams allow such despair to persist? What will it take for Angelenos to rise to the challenge? These questions demand that we recognize Skid Row's crisis as a collective failure, urging action to restore the city's promise for all. In response to the homelessness crisis, particularly in Skid Row, a range of solutions are currently being put into motion. These efforts focus on not just providing immediate relief, but also on addressing the root causes of homelessness, aiming for long-term, sustainable change. One of the most significant initiatives is the Skid Row Action Plan, developed by the City of Los Angeles. This plan aims to provide comprehensive support to the homeless population. Key elements include increasing affordable housing availability, expanding access to healthcare and mental health services, and offering programs dedicated to job training and substance abuse recovery. The plan's goal is to move beyond short-term shelters, striving for long-lasting solutions that address the complex systemic issues driving homelessness in the area. Another key approach gaining traction is the Housing First model, which has been implemented in various parts of Los Angeles, including Skid Row. The concept behind Housing First is simple: provide stable housing first, without requiring individuals to resolve challenges like addiction or mental illness before moving in. Once a person has a safe, secure place to live, they are better positioned to address other struggles. This approach has shown success in reducing homelessness in cities across the U.S., and Los Angeles is gradually expanding its use. However, these solutions face significant challenges. Funding is a major obstacle, as building affordable housing in a city with skyrocketing real estate prices is expensive. The city's budget is already stretched, and additional resources are needed to scale up these initiatives. Political resistance in some neighborhoods also hinders the development of new housing or mental health facilities. Despite these hurdles, the Housing First model offers promise, and with more resources, it could provide a long-term solution for many living in Skid Row. Nonprofit organizations play an essential role in providing immediate relief. Groups like the Los Angeles Mission and the Downtown Women's Center offer critical services, including meals, medical care, and temporary shelter. Many of these organizations also run long-term recovery programs, helping individuals reintegrate into society and secure stable employment. While these services are invaluable, they often operate with limited funding and struggle to meet the growing demand. While progress has been made, much work remains. The scale of the problem is immense, and addressing the homelessness crisis requires coordinated efforts across government agencies, nonprofits, businesses, and local community. Only through sustained collaboration can we hope to make meaningful strides towards solving this pressing issue. Looking ahead, the future of Skid Row remains uncertain. While some progress has been made, particularly with the introduction of Housing First and other support measures, the problem is far from being solved. The homeless population in Los Angeles continues to rise, and without significant investment and more coordinated action, the situation is likely to worsen. One of the most pressing challenges is the availability of affordable housing. Despite efforts to build more low-income housing, the demand far outpaces the supply. Rent prices in Los Angeles continue to soar, making it nearly impossible for those already on the brink of homelessness to remain housed. The high cost of living in the city, particularly for low-income residents and seniors on fixed incomes, further deepens the crisis. With limited affordable options, many people are falling deeper into the cycle of homelessness. Additionally, the city's social safety net remains inadequate. While initiatives like the Skid Row Action Plan and Housing First are positive steps, they only address part of the issue. Mental health services and addiction treatment programs are still underfunded and understaffed, leaving many individuals without the critical support they need. Until these underlying problems are properly addressed, the cycle of homelessness will persist. The future of Skid Row, and by extension, homelessness across America, hinges on whether cities like Los Angeles can rise to meet this challenge. Solving homelessness isn't just about providing shelter, it's about creating a society that values human dignity and offers the necessary resources for people to rebuild their lives. The hope is that with continued focus on initiatives like Housing First, expanding mental health services, and providing more affordable housing, we can begin to reverse the tide of homelessness, not only in Skid Row, but across the country. Traveling across America, I've witnessed the growing divide between wealth and poverty. But Skid Row's crisis strikes the hardest. In this corner of Los Angeles, inequality is impossible to ignore, with tents lining streets where dreams once flourished. I met Maria, a 7-year-old former teacher, now living in a tarp shelter after medical debt took her home. Her story, like so many others, highlights a painful truth. Homelessness is not just a housing issue. It's a systemic failure driven by skyrocketing rents, weakened safety nets, and neglected mental health care. This crisis demands more than just sympathy. It requires us to see people like Maria as humans, not statistics. Our obsession with profit has blinded us to the vulnerable, leaving them to fall through cracks widened by decades of policy neglect. Since the 1,980 cuts to public housing and mental health funding, down by 70% and 25% respectively, have fueled the rise of Skid Rows across the nation. We can't afford to ignore this anymore. Change begins when we value dignity over dollars. We need a society that invests in affordable housing, mental health care, and addiction recovery to lift up the most vulnerable. You can make a difference. Volunteer at the Los Angeles Mission, advocate for Housing First policies, or reach out to city officials to demand increased funding. If we don't act now, how many more Mariahs will we leave behind on the streets? The time for change is now, and it starts with us. Conclusion. The issue of homelessness in Skid Row is not an isolated problem. It is part of a much larger crisis affecting cities across the United States. As we've seen, the causes are multifaceted, and the solutions are far from simple. While progress is being made, much more needs to be done to address the root causes of homelessness and provide lasting solutions. Skid Row stands as a symbol of the disparity and challenges faced by the homeless in America, and it serves as a stark reminder that we all have a role to play in finding solutions. The question is, will we rise to the challenge, or will we continue to let people fall through the cracks? Only time will tell, but for now, the homeless in America, particularly in Skid Row, deserve our attention and action more than ever.